Brummond, Walsh County Extension Agent, having some technical difficulties here, but I want to talk a little bit about some really positive things that I see going on in northeastern North Dakota. All these slides I'm going to show you today are actually Walsh County slides. We've learned a lot as producers and extension agents and as crop scouts and ag industry in the last year or two about different things we can do that don't change a lot of things, but makes us some money. So I want to talk about some of the positive things that we're doing right. Too often we hear about the things people tell us, all the things we're doing wrong. I want to talk about the things that we are doing right. The first thing that we're doing right now, we have seen a big increase in strip tillage acres in Walsh County, and it continues to expand. And when you look at this screenshot here, you can look down these rows and you can see that we have disturbed soil where we can plant into, and we have cover. There's no way this field is going to blow unless it burns or something else happens to it. So we are doing some innovative things. We're doing strip till. We're doing a little no-till up in Walsh County. And no-till was always a four-letter word, if you would say it. And we didn't do no-till a lot because of our wet conditions, but now we're starting to adapt to different things. It doesn't have to be no-till. It can be minimum till. It can be trees. It can be a host of other practices. So let's talk about some of these. Again, this is that sugar beet strip till field that's ready for in 2021. And you know what that was like. We had dust storms that rivaled the 30s. This field stayed solid. So this is one of the things that didn't blow in that late spring. Let's look at it again. If you look at this field coming down again, I believe this is a field. I don't think this is the same field. I believe it's the one next door. Now that I look at it, this is a field that's ready for sugar beets this next spring. So it's pretty solid, and there's really good snow cover out there now. Let's look at what we're doing with some of our low residue crops in the Red River Valley. This is a shot of our strip till demonstration project, and you can see, for those of you who saw my strip tillage talk, you've seen this slide before. But the point is, instead of leaving things completely black, we have got those wheat strips that are going up and down this row. And those wheat strips, while they don't look like much, are catching some snow. It's just not bare. I guess my point here is we need to take our successes as we get them. So here's some really good news. This is Jamie Bennington's field, one of Jamie Bennington's fields here, just east of Park River. And if you look here, here's another side shot of these strip till beets. This is viewed north. The field runs east-west. While it doesn't look like there's a lot of stubble there, there's still some stubble there that wasn't completely destroyed. Again, we will take what victories we can find here on these acres. Well, let's look at this is our strip tillage beets, first part of August. You can see that those beets are growing in between the strip till spring wheat rows, and they're growing pretty well. It doesn't seem to affect them greatly. Here's the problem that we had. We had a couple problems with this field. Of course, it was dry. This field emerged 2 to 3 weeks earlier than the 40-acre conventional till beets. We did lose we did lose some beets to some frost in here. We did have some stand. It was not the stand that we'd like to see, but the stand was certainly adequate, and it did a good job. It actually did better than the conventional field that's beside it. That field, we had to wait for 2 weeks for that to come up. These beets got a 2 to 3 week jump on those other beets. So even with some of the reduced stands, we turned out better on this field than the other field. Here's a really interesting thing. Here's a shot east of Park River where they strip tilled our beets into corn residue. Boy, now there's some pretty tough country to try to get into. You got corn residue, and look at those beets. Now you can say that, yeah, again, we could have a better stand of sugar beets in this field, but it got to the point where they were going to do something or they were not going to plant. So they went in and they strip tilled these beets, and they turned out pretty well. Again, there isn't going to be much blowing going on here. Look at the stubble and the cover we have with that corn there. This is the first time I've ever seen this done in the corn stubble. So we'll see how maybe this works next year and see if this producer continues to do that. This is not actually one of our demonstration sites. This was just along the road on Highway 17, around the curves on Highway 17. So if you're driving to Park River to Grafton from the west, coming through Park River, you'll see this field. Here's another field picture that I took on November 2nd. We're doing a lot of rye strips now. This is in that same area on some I don't know whether it was prevented, whether what the history of this field was, but it was pretty black. And you can see the rye strips. He didn't completely cover this field with rye, but I think there's certainly enough rye there to hold this field down and to have it in shape for next year. And you'll notice it's not really a big stand of rye. So maybe we can get in there and put a crop on this next year. And rye isn't all that hard to kill. I'm not sure I'd come in here with spring wheat, but here's some here's a practice, and you'll notice he had tilled them to the prevailing winds. So this is not a straight shot up and down. And we got them, and we put the T on these strips, so we should be very successful with stopping blowing with our strip rye crops in Walsh County. This is a picture of the same field, just a little closer, and you can see it's pretty green. And this was when we were starting to shut down. You can see in the ditches the weeds and the grass are starting to die. So we were getting into some cooler weather when I took this shot. This was right before some things changed in Walsh County, and I was out on a nice day with a camera. Here's a field of cover crop. This is actually out by the airport, just west of Park River. And you know what? If you've ever been in that area, this is really light sandy loam. This stuff moves, and it has a history of blowing. There's a reason we have a lot of trees out in this country. It's because of the soil type and the blowability of this field. Now, if you remember correctly, first part of September, we were pretty dry. And this stuff came up anyway. And you'll notice there's a pretty good stand there. I'm not quite sure what they're going to do with this field next year, but you'd be setting up for planting green with soybeans or something like that on the rye. Even if they don't do anything with it, we've stopped the blowing. And this field, in fact, I was just by it this morning. This field is covered, and it's pretty solid. So this producer is taking into consideration his soil type and the bare ground and doing something about it. And this is working for us. Again, this picture was taken on November 2nd. If you also look over here, you can see there are some patches in there where he got in some gravel and some sand, and it didn't all come up. But there's certainly an adequate stand in order to hold things down. And it's nice to see this stuff. It's good to see people who are not associated with agriculture drive down the road and see some of this stuff, to know that we're working on soil health, and we're working on protecting our land. If you look here, now this is a field, again, this is a field going down Highway 18 between the Pizik turn north and 17. Notice there's there's trees on three sides. You got a ditch on another side, and you got cover crop going on in here. I don't see this field going to be blowing. I don't know how it's going to blow, because we got trees on three sides, we got a ditch, and we got cover crop. I'm not sure what the tillage along the ditch was for. Maybe they had some weed problems in there. I was just driving and shooting pictures that day. Again, this field was taken on November 2nd. Here's another picture of that field from the road. Again, you'll see that he doesn't have a complete stand, a cover crop, but it's certainly adequate. And this gives you a little bit better picture of these trees. If you look at these trees, that shelter belt to the west is certainly getting toward the end of its useful life, but it is still doing its job. So it's good to see that. We have a lot of trees in Walsh County. I would like to see some of these trees stay. And if we have to take them out, I think we can still make a case to replant these trees. These trees don't take up a lot of area. They don't take up a lot of room. And it's been proven that they will actually increase your yields because you don't beat the heck out of your crop, especially with your longer season crops. You give them a chance to not to get beat up and get some growing degree days. Shelter belts pay. I can't say that enough in so many ways. I think it's short-sighted to think that shelter belts do not add value to land in an operation, in my opinion. Granted, again, that this shelter belt can make a serious case for some renovation, particularly on the west. Now here's again, we talked a little bit about strip till. This again was taken on November 2nd. This field is going to go into sugar beets next year. Now you can say there's a lot of soil disturbance here, Brad. Is there enough residue there to hold this ground down? Yeah, I think there's enough residue to hold this ground down. I think you can see the field on the left there, which would be a field to the south. That does not have the strip till in it, and that's pretty bare. I guess again, we need to take our victories as we have them. We're learning, and I was pretty excited when I started to drive in west of Park or east of Park River and start to see these things happening. This was something we never did see happen 6-7 years ago. So it's really fun to watch this stuff grow. Now here's a picture. This is on the Fordville Sands, and you can see that we do have some crop issues on this sand. It was really dry, and this is sand over gravel, ladies and gentlemen. This was taken November 2nd again, but what you see here is what I was trying to show in this picture is you don't have to jerk out these shelter belts. What you can do is you can pull out the ends of those shelter belts, and we can get our tillage equipment and our big equipment through it and leave the shelter belts in place. These trees would be very difficult to reestablish due to the soil types and the drought prone soils that we have here. So leave those shelter belts in place and maybe make some adaptation. We can work with you. Look at here's another picture. Again, I think there was a better choice than corn on this field, but I don't think there's a lot of crop there. But again, he's got that corn in place, and it looks like it's stay there. I haven't been by this field recently, but there's still some cover there, and again, we can get equipment through it. This is what I'm trying to show on this sign. Having trees does not have to be a pain. It can work for you. Well, now this is another field. This was just coming off the ridge, going up the hill west of Conway. And if you go up that hill, this is some really light ground. Now this is a wheat field, and then this producer chose not to till this wheat field. What this producer did do, it looked to me when I was standing in it, and you can tell me when I was standing in this field, it looked to me like he went out there with and in one area of the field, he started to drag it and he quit. Most of this field is pretty much largely undisturbed except for a pass that's made here along the road, the way it looks to me like. So this was not a great stand of wheat. I'm guessing this wheat ran anywhere from 10 to 20 bushels an acre. But again, he's working with this producer's working with sand. He did the right thing. And now the other great thing about this is that stubble's going to catch snow, and that snow is going to recharge some of the soil moisture in that area. And that area is really critically short of soil moisture. So here's some things that works. I think he should be able to go into this in the spring without any issue, and put whatever he plans on going in there, whether it's probably going to be beans, edible beans, or maybe soybeans or sunflowers, and go in there, and he could even strip till this field if he had to this spring. So there's a nice picture, and as you can see going up that hill, you can see that hill going to the east. It drops down into the valley from there. So we're on the sands here. This is where all the gravel pits in Walsh County are. Now here's another one. They say this is a potato ground. Okay, this is potato ground, and they say that we can't raise potatoes and protect the ground. Yes, we can. These are corn strips. This would be corn strips just a little to the west of those rye fields that I just showed you. He stripped the potatoes. You can see in the potato ground, there's virtually zero residue. This is potato ground. Okay, they got the potatoes out of the ground, and the corn is protecting that field. While it is not what I would call complete protection, it is better than no protection, and we have protection there. And corn strips work, and they really worked last spring when we had all those high wind events. Any cover we can give it, the better it's going to be. There's another shot of this field now. You would say this: if I was going to do one thing on this corn strip, I'd take those weeds out of the end of that row. But it is what it is. You can this picture shows you just how black and how pulverized that ground is. And if we didn't have corn on there, and there's snow on snow drifts on that corn today. I was just out there this morning. So there's a lot of really good coverage out there. Here is another picture of some more strip till going on. I'm pretty sure this is going to go to Beets. And that's got some armor on it, and it should be held down. Now in closing, and we can discuss some of these things. You know what? We don't have to do the whole farm. We can learn from a few acres. We need to get creative, and the more we get creative and the more we start to figure things out, the better off. You know, I grew up and my dad planted a lot of trees, and we tilled things black, but we had trees, and we're changing now, and I come from that generation. Okay, if you have a chance to work with young people, work with your land judging teams, work with your crop judging teams. A lot of you sitting out there have a lot of skills that can be translated to these young people.